Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have an SCP for a change. Not really.
Yeah, it's really not.
SCP-3895. So, a little while back, we did the amazing series of Joey Fucknuts. And those stories did in fact have, like, following in the tradition of SCP entries, those stories occasionally had links to SCPs that they were describing in the story. So I have allocated an entire month to the SCPs that were covered or that were linked in those stories. So so this one comes from so Joey Fucknuts Takes to the Sky is the story that has the link for this one, and the quote for it is, "The waves of slime pooled around Joey, turning the warm, dry earth he had been sitting on into clammy, viscous muck. The sun dims. He begins to feel cold and wet and slick with the saliva of some great beast that Joey has never met and could never imagine. But he feels it all the same. Something bad. Something horrible." And in that quote, the bad, from something bad, is the link to SCP-3895.
And if memory serves me, that is during his dream?
Yes, that is, well, he's having a dream and where he encounters this dark presence that tries to infect his mind. And then two other SCPs that we're going to cover later this month show up and defend him in his dreams.
Yes.
So yeah, let's just dive into the rundown of SCP-3895. So the document or entry for this SCP is kind of done up a little bit differently than other SCPs. Like, it's a little bit more of a narrative, a little bit more of a story, and it's a bit of apocalyptic story at that. SCP-3895 is an extra-dimensional presence that is, as of this documentation, bleeding into our reality and assimilating all biomatter it comes into contact with as it's manifesting, which it can later dispense as servitor units of various size and purpose. So it's sort of like an interdimensional version of, like, The Thing, or like Necromorphs, The Flood from Halo, just with, like, eldritch steroids, because it's coming from it's not from physical space, it's coming from another reality.
Mm-hmm.
It also gains information from every human it consumes. Again, see the aforementioned media references. It effectively, like, takes everything from the person, including the soul. It is such a threat that the Foundation, after expending vast amount of personnel and assets, rest in peace, Special Task Force Sigma-1, and still they're losing ground in the process. Like, the entire island of Guam and its public citizens are just consumed by a giant flesh mass. They are faced with the decision to go completely public with the rest of the world, so as to attempt to attempt a counteroffensive against this world-ending threat. Based on thaumaturgical scans of the main biomass, now designated SCP-3895 Prime, which is roughly 2.39 kilometers in width, in Guam, which is now designated Exclusion Zone 389501. The metaphysical energy is growing exponentially off of this creature, and the actual form of SCP-3895 will manifest in redacted months. Overseers in the documentation are unwilling to allow humanity to go down without a fight. However, there is this cryptic message at the very end of the file asking for us to simply return to the Mother. So Finn? Question mark? End of humanity? Question mark? So yeah, that was SCP-3895 in a nutshell. And I suppose we will move on to Everyone Tolerates the Grime Inquisitions. At this point, I wonder if you guys had anything, because I got nothing.
Well, as per usual, I have a conjunction junction.
All right, fair enough. I'm willing to give this one because this one's a little bit more of a story than it's one part story, one part actual SCP entry, like formal, like bureaucratic, like form.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little bureaucratic today.
I don't need to hear about that.
No, it's like neurotic, like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, what did you think of that?
Oh, I was thinking.
Erotic.
In the gutter
Okay.
Today, apparently.
No. Wow, you're in the gutter today.
Well, no, it's the fact that I assumed you'd be in the gutter because you're
Oh,
always in the
okay.
gutter.
Because you assume. Well, that's the mimetic virus. Because you assumed I'd assume you're trapped in the gutter.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, we all float down here, gamer.
No.
Oh yes, gamer. We all float. And
Okay,
you'll float too. Sorry. But yeah, so and next stop, Conjunction Junction. Doot, doot.
But they have been managed. And because of our fortune, Joe Average gets to sleep in his bed at night without a care in the world. But I will not see us back down. It has shattered our defenses, cast aside our bulwarks, and made a mockery of our strength while devouring and enslaving our sacred dead. But upon the horizon is war, and we can ill afford to measure and examine and make our boxes as we have in the past. And now we fight. It is actively attempting to assimilate all life on Earth. It is currently debated as to whether individual SCP-3895 specimens can be considered alive in the traditional sense, as all exhibit some degree of necrotization and decay while displaying no apparent need for nutritional intake or rest. Finn.
Wow, you basically just that was basically the whole, like, you actually encapsulated the entire warning of this entry.
Pretty much.
Nice. Yeah. Are you gonna do the and for those in the know, gamer?
No.
Oh, okay.
For those not in the know, though, Mikey does his conjunction junctions and its stories to list out all the sentences that start with words they shouldn't be starting with, which are generally its, ands, buts, words that are meant to be in the middle of a sentence, not at the start. Because out of context, they seem weird.
Although for this one, it kind of fits. Like, you kind of get the basic information that you need from operator, or what is it, Overseer 8 in this one during the warning, the introductory warning.
Yeah, because it doesn't mention SCP a couple of times.
Yeah.
But yes.
And is that all you have for Grammar Inquisition there, Mikey?
Yes.
Okay. Gamer, do you have anything?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
Individual organisms incorporate material from a wide range of other species from all known taxonomic categories of life into their biology, seemingly at random, period. They are invariably comprised, however, of genetically human tissue in varying states of decomposition. So, I said this last week, but it holds true here again. Personally, when there's something commaed out like that, however, it makes it sound like it's going to bring up 2 points at the end instead of just one, so it made it seem weird.
Gotcha.
the same sort of thing I said last week. It also confuses where the however goes, if it's saying they are invariably compromised, however, or they're saying they're invariably compromised, however, of genetically human tissue, blah, 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 blah. Like, it completely changes the meaning of it again. And the easy fix to it is just put however at the very start of the sentence. So it would just be, however, comma, they are invariably compromised of genetically human tissue in varying states of decomposition.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's not in the middle and comment out and weird.
Mm-hmm. No,
that's all.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's all we got for Grammar Inquisition, then we can move on to our actual thoughts on the story and entry. And I got to start with the anchor-like symbol of the SCP Foundation symbol that starts off, as well as the kind of like little introductory, and it just kind of like a little like start off with like that symbol, and also a little bit of the information that we get in this. So the right before you even like click on, or if you click on our strength endures, the link that after you've taken your info inoculation 27 Apollo. Or not.
You guys all did that, right?
Oh yeah, yes, clearly.
Yeah, of course,
yeah.
We all have to do it here.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll pop up, and the link, the title for that link will actually change. Like, we are the Foundation. And there's a little there's a disclaimer from operator or from Overseer. I don't know why I keep saying operator. Overseer 8 of Operation Marduk Prime Director, which gives basically a warning as to like basically humanity's about to end. We need to like put up our big boy pants and fucking face some dark truths. And the symbol that's like starts with that is the SCP symbol, but in the center of it is an anchor. So I was very curious about that, because does this relate in some way to the Admiral anchor from SCP-3898?
No.
No. Okay, fine. Sorry.
It's like the bad symbol, so they're calling Hull and Hank.
Look, it's not an anchor. It's a lure. Oh! Son of a bitch.
Stop making shit better.
God damn it.
Just don't do it anymore.
Also, because, or here's the other question: is Hull and Hank an avatar of the Admiral from SCP-3895? SCP-3895 being, 3893. Sorry. Because SCP-3893, as you guys will remember, is the cave in the trench that has the statues of an admiral with an anchor, and this horrid amalgamation that's referred to as the Mother. And the pile of corpses that, respawn and devout their sins and then like basically choose a side. The
character selection screen for the start of that MMO.
Exactly, yeah. That weird fleshy MMO, yeah. So yeah, like since they're like my idea was like, is this the Admiral like choosing a side basically, since he seems to be in antithesis to the Mother creature? Is this the Admiral stepping in and helping the SCP Foundation or influencing the SCP Foundation? Has he been influencing the SCP Foundation from the beginning? Kind of in some ways like how people sometimes like have theorized or made a take of, where like Delta Green, the group that deals with the Cthulhu mythos in the modern campaign frame for the Call of Cthulhu mythos and RPG system, is it being influenced by Nodens, who is an antithesis to Nyarlathotep and a bunch of other baddies in the mythos. But I also really like that idea that no, it's just a bat symbol for like call to arms to Hull and Hank.
He'll save us somehow.
Yes, by dredging up baddies.
And he just has to fish the monster off the ground.
Yeah.
They can just drop in the lake.
Yeah, exactly. And then have maybe he's like, that's what he's pulling from. Like he's like, all right, well, all right, we gotta do this whole thing. I'm just take some do some fishing here and pull parts of that creature in Guam to other
Yeah.
locations so that it's more manageable.
That's what all the things are that he fishes out.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're just part from. Yeah, Guam doesn't exist anymore, guys. It's all a cover up. it's there's just a big old sign, just like Guam exists. Whenever somebody goes to it, it's like, okay, I guess it exists, and keeps walking. But that aside, tangentially, I also find like the format of this entry is very different from other entries that we've talked about on the show, because it's more like a traditional story being told here using the format of SCP entry. It's very kind of epistolary, which is the style of writing that like Dracula was done in. It's basically like taking newspaper articles or like using like bureaucratic format, but also like giving it a narrative that like you can kind of see the story through it.
Yeah.
But this one's done a little bit like kind of somewhere in between that, between like a traditional storytelling narrative and the SCP's tried and true bureaucratic entries. The story we're getting is also very apocalyptic and world-changing, which is kind of weird to read when this is an entry amongst the SCP files. I don't entirely know how to feel about it. Like, is this happening? Like, is there a big cover-up? Does Guam no longer exist? And it's just all there's a big cover-up about it? Or is my other theory here is this part of the cognito hazard that was warned to us at the beginning of before clicking onto the file, and this is actually like part of the SCP's like influence, like the mimetic virus of it, is that it's foretelling a doomsday outcome that hasn't happened yet. Like this idea is sort of further evident by the last bit of the entry with the where it's the overseer like talking about like we will not go into the night kind of thing, like we'll stand fast, humanity will prevail, and then we get like a bunch of weird like text that is possibly from the mother herself or from the entity that we are currently dealing with, maybe. So I'm curious, is the purpose of this entry basically to be like a kind of a mind fuck of like, wait, what's happening? Is this like a story in an SCP canon, or is this just part of the SCP entry itself, where like the entity itself is the entry? You know what I'm saying? Am I just speaking madness?
I mean, I kind of get it, I guess.
Okay, cool.
Also, it's funny that you said that they won't go quietly into the night, because like literally, not yesterday, but the day before, I watched Independence Day.
I every time I say it, I do always think of like Bill Pullman, just like, we will not go quietly into the night. Today we celebrate our Independence Day.
Mhm.
Right before they're about to fight a giant biomass.
Yeah.
And lose horribly. I also was kind of getting like reading this story. Or reading this entry and / story. I was kind of getting like Doom Eternal vibes.
A little
Like,
bit, yeah.
It very much feels like how apocalyptic the Earth is in Doom when you start off in Doom Eternal.
Mm-hmm. Shit's
Like,
fucked up. There's weird biomasses everywhere.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a Doom scenario, which I guess again is very much in line with like the Apocalypse class, SCP entities, like the ones that will end the world. So, and actually, I'm going to continue with this class here. So, anomaly class Tiamat and it has a little one that has a link, or has like a little quick like a flash link sort of thing that like pops up a footnote. 1. Tiamat class anomalies are entities whose influence cannot be covertly contained, utilizing the resources and knowledge currently available to the Foundation, and as such are projected to fundamentally alter or wholly annul consensus normality, barring direct Foundation tactical engagement. I really like the use of these footnote links in this entry, because they are dropped right like you can just pass over so that you don't have to like look it up or like scroll, even like have to scroll right down to the bottom where they are. to like kind of get what's happening, what they're mentioning in passing. It really helps with like the clarity
However,
of like to help with the story. Oh no.
However, they should have put it on the threat level black as well. What does that mean?
That is true. Yeah, they maybe one that they missed that maybe should have gotten mentioned. Because like they even like my next quote actually even has one in it, which is the thanatotropic threshold, which I can kind of surmise what thanatotropic is because thanatos is basically I think a Greek word for death or entropy.
I thought it was just talking about Thanos on the beach in the tropics.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean,
Relaxing.
to be fair, Thanos was they used that word because of he's a big bad in the Marvel universe.
Mhm.
Hence why Thanos is it derived from Thanatos, which is that link or that translated word.
Yes.
But yeah, so actually going on to my next quote here in comments. These exceptional bioforms have shown behavioral characteristics and access to knowledge particular to individuals known. This combined with information extrapolated from SCP-3893 and several instances of both SCP-3896 and SCP-3897 has led to the conclusion that SCP-3895's metaphysical influence extends beyond the thanatotropic threshold. So we've tackled 3893, which is the trench cave, and 3897, which is the giant floating biomass that steals people from their apartments, or like from their dwellings, and adds to the corpse and has like a radio signal kind of coming off of it. I'm just gonna add SCP-3896 to our list, which appears based on like a cursory look of the image that's on it. It's a diner.
Mm-hmm.
So
based
it's
on the header, it's from the same dude who did like Hull and Hank and all that because it's got a really fancy header.
Yes. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this. This SCP, and I'm sorry if I didn't mention it earlier. SCP-3895 is by CadaverCommander.
Oh.
So, I mean, what a shock! It was Joey Fucknut's story, and they're including some of their SCPs that they've done. So, also a really interesting like narrative presentation of an entry. Weird. In a good way, not like weird as in like, okay, roll my eyes sort of thing. No, I don't mean that at all. But yeah, I'm just noting that, and my next thing here is also just like I'm falling down a rabbit hole of SCPs because of the links that we keep getting.
Yeah, I had a note saying that exact thing.
Yeah, and yeah, my next thing is from the list of like of encounters or engagements. So 22 January 2017, Special Task Force Sigma 1 formed and deployed alongside Goal 89, the bearer, or in quotes, the bearers, against global emergence of SCP-3895 forces. So just going to add SCP-3894 to the list since Special Task Force Sigma 1 in that little quote is highlighted and linked to SCP-3894, which we're just Alice falling through to Wonderland of SCP. But yeah, so so we got two more to add on to like the list. We'll get to them. And my next one here is where shit kind of gets cray for me. From the incident 09 March 2017 incident. Did I just repeat incident twice?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yes.
Damn you.
Cool. One of us is paying attention.
Yeah.
Are we recording?
Oh no. We've always been recording, gamer. We're doing fine work.
Of course. Yeah. That's our secret. We're always recording.
Yes. Long-range thaumaturgical scanners register conceptual energy readings exceeding those of SCP-3894 Alpha. Mass is theorized by Operation Marduk, Thaumaturgical Division, and confirmed by SCP-3894 Alpha to be a metabiological protoform preceding SCP-3895 primary manifestation and subsequent breach into conventional reality. Wait. and this is my comment. Wait, thaumaturgical. That's magic as treated through scientific lens usually in fiction. And then later, we get this quote. All Foundation mobilization strategy and maneuvers now include the destruction of SCP-3895 Prime as an overriding priority, with prototypic thermonuclear stratocharge munitions being pulled from preliminary testing to be used against SCP-3895 Prime in the event that conventional bombardment proves ineffective. So let me get this.
Catch that.
So let me get this straight. A magical thermonuclear tactical weapon system dropped on a supernatural biomass that is threatening humanity. Like Bug City? Is someone a fan of Shadowrun? Because that is exactly what happened to Chicago in the Sixth World when bug spirits manifested and started infesting humans into flesh forms and started potentially basically attacking us en masse in Chicago area. Ares dropped a magical nuclear weapon that ate magic as well as irradiated the area.
Of course.
So okay,
and does.
Yeah, and okay, so my Shadowrun fanboyism aside,
of course,
magical nukes and the use of supernatural detection technology are certainly nothing new or unheard of in fiction, or even in terms of an SCP entry. I think I'm not sure if I've heard it necessarily in the same context, but I've heard magic science is nothing new in fiction. And magical weapons of magical destruction are also nothing new.
Nice.
And thank you. And this may not have anything to do with Shadowrun. Hell, CadaverCommander don't even know anything about Shadowrun. But as someone who has recently been running in the shadows, I can't help but see a few potential similarities and or nods to that series. I could certainly see this entire entry being fodder for Shadowrun. What with the concept of bug spirits and worst off horrors, which are extra-dimensional things that are trying to bleed, no pun intended, into our reality through the use of blood magic.
Oh wow! I wonder where you were going with that pun.
Yeah. This feels like it could even be a potential apocalyptic campaign in Shadowrun. And you simply need to just replace the SCP Foundation aspect of it with the Draco Foundation or the Brotherhood of Darkness as the defenders of the Sixth World during that calamity. And to be honest, like I was saying earlier, how I've been we've been running in the shadows recently. I'm currently running a campaign right now that has similar or at least adjacent themes to it, and this is completely by coincidence. I read this story a day ago, and we've been playing that game for a few weeks, and I was wow, all right, that's interesting. Just an interesting little footnote there. So yeah, I don't know. And again, full disclaimer: I don't know if CadaverCommander is a fan of Shadowrun, if they've been inspired by it. It's because these ideas, these themes are nothing new. I mean, hell, Delta Green to a degree could be run with this kind of stuff, like Cthulhu Mythos, other horror franchises or fictions and fandoms have done something similar. It's not a trope necessarily, but it's definitely in the genres of this kind of writing. So I'm not putting it. I'm not stating I think this is definitely just Shadowrun with the names filed off. No, I'm not thinking that at all. I'm just a fan of Shadowrun, and I saw some dots, and I'm linking them together in my headcanon. So, yeah, at the very least, this is kind of a half-assed kitchen segment for me. Is I could just take this entire scenario, this entire setup, and just make it a campaign in Shadowrun.
Not wrong. It would work.
Mm-hmm. So, honestly, that's all I got for actual thoughts. I will end up probably piping up with you guys when you guys are with what you guys bring up. But I'm curious to see what you guys got from this SCP entry. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
Okay. So, continuing with your quote that you mentioned, the all Foundation mobilization strategy and maneuvers now include the destruction of SCP-3895 Prime as an overriding priority. I'm wondering if that's part of the memetic virus or whatever. So basically, the mother is telling people to come to it by overriding their priorities.
Yeah. Oh, so like basically like yeah, it's like yes, come to me. bring all of your defenses, please. Attempt to fight me. It's basically god. So the mother's just like metaphysically, it's like come at me, bro. Come at me. just goading humanity to fight her because that's what she wants. I could see it because based on their record, like their fighting record, it's not good for humanity to get close to these things or to even engage them at all. Sorry.
Yeah, they keep doing it.
Yep. Well, I mean, what else are they gonna do? Like, how do you fight this?
And my next extra thought here is this the beginning of Dogscape?
Fuck. God damn it.
The answer is yes, first off.
Yeah, yes, clearly.
Second off, I'm surprised I didn't go there as well.
Yeah. It's definitely a
It's a little
they're very similar in terms of like the biomass that's growing and like this is where Dogscape came from. It was the mother of all dogs, like the dimension, like basically like the combined spiritual essence of dogs that just wants to say hi to its friends in real space.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually just really like we should actually all just jump over, like head over to SCP-3895 Prime and just pet it. Nothing bad will happen. Oh, is that the mimetic Gris talking? I don't know anymore.
Yeah, it might be.
That's what the mimetic virus is. Like that's why like when engagement fails all the time, the fucking the biomasses are just like puppy people that give people puppy dog eyes. It's like yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's jaw and then jaw.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god. Thank you, Mikey.
And then the other thought process was, is this also like the Katamari games?
Just like pulling that giant ball of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Only instead of things, it's people that it's picking up.
Well, it's not just. That's the other thing. It's not just people. It's all biomass. It seems so. Like trees, animals, people.
All the things that you pick up in Katamari.
In Katamari you pick up like cars and building structures and stuff like that.
You pick up straight up people too.
Oh yeah, you do. But this one's more exclusionary to like basically it's a biopunk version of Katamari Damacy where it's exclusively biomatter. It's basically just a giant Shoggoth. Like it just like again, if I was to run this in Cthulhu and stuff like that, I'd probably use the stats for a Shoggoth and just like amp it up a little bit. So you're not surviving as agents.
No.
It's basically a losing battle, but like you're gonna give it your. It's basically about the journey and like how glorious do you go out. But
that's the end of my actual thoughts.
Wow. Okay. Gamer.
I guess it's my go.
Mm-hmm.
A few of mine got cut out, but that's fine. I still got a few more.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. It literally just says fine. So as soon as I load it up, there's the intro warning screen.
Yeah.
And I like that and all that. Although, like 97% chance is still a concern, depending on what the effects are that come from this. The 3% could be very bad.
Oh yeah, and that's part of the horror of it.
Yeah, but jumping into this, I didn't know what was gonna like become of this or anything, and I was thinking, like, if you started a story like this with a warning and there's like a 3% chance that it'll go bad, and then you start reading the story, and then as it gets down to the end, the
Yeah.
last paragraph is all like garbled up in like weird letters and shit, as
Yeah,
if
actually-
like reading the story itself has like fucked up your mind.
Yeah. Actually, I think what we should probably like bring up or like describe what happens at the end of the record of the entry here. So yeah, it goes into like a bunch of like investigation and tactical efforts underway. The Foundation starting with the SCP-3895 Omega's gestation and its subsequent emergence into physical reality presents an immediate and irrevocable threat to humanity. The Foundation will not allow this entity to be born. And then like there's a bunch of like lines of empty lines, and then we will not re-enter the womb. And then there's like a ton of empty space before there's a I guess the GIF or something like that, where it's just like it's fluctuating between numbers and words and letters. And that's, I guess, supposed to be part of the memetic cryptic code. And then it drops down again, and there's a bunch of small red writing or red text that says, "I can love you through your own corpses. It is time to come home. Mother knows best." And then that's the end of the entry.
You see, I didn't scroll that far.
Ah, really?
Why would I have this note if I saying that I wanted it to be fucked up, like the text to be fucked up at the end?
How did you not read that? How did you not scroll farther down?
I scrolled down and it's like, oh, there's a whole bunch of white underneath it. There can't be more.
Oh, I thought you were leading up. I thought you were leading up to that, like to something about that. Okay, shit.
Hell no.
Okay.
There was so much white at the bottom.
I know. That's part of the deception. That's part of the the memetic deception of it.
Penis.
Congrats, you're infected now.
Thanks. Love it.
Yeah, that's also like where I'm thinking about like its connection to like the mother that's in the trench, like that statue that's in the trench cave. Is that like it's the mother talking at the end of this entry?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a giant interdimensional Shoggoth that wants and for people who don't know what Shoggoths are, they're basically a giant protoplasmic biomass that can like change its like basically complete like it can fabricate its own shotguns, and by shotguns I mean organs and limbs and appendages and such at will to match any desired environment or any desired purpose that it would need. And
I thought it was just a big pile of eyeballs and tentacles.
That's how it's described a lot of the time, but it's actually like it was created as a workforce by an eldritch alien species on Earth, and they rebelled and killed their masters, and then just sat down in the bottom of the ocean in the Antarctic.
It's a tale as old as time.
And actually are also responsible for the creation of all life on Earth. Like all organic life on Earth stems from Shoggoths. At least in the core story, there's a bit of like conjecture because some eldritch horrors like Shub-Niggurath or Aboleth claim to be the origin of all organic life, whereas the Shoggoth in Mountains of Madness is said to be the origin of all organic life because we were basically a failed project. We were a mistake leading up to the creation of the Shoggoths. By the eldritch horrors or by the elder things. So like there's a bunch of conjecture in the mythos as to like what exactly is true, and then maybe that's part of the point. But yeah, at the bottom line, when it comes to Shoggoths, they're supposedly like where we all stem from and where all life stems from.
Is it like with the Lovecraft universe? There's different beliefs and like religions within his universe, whether or not you believe like X, Y, or Z. Like
certainly there's definitely different cults.
Man is.
Yeah, there's certainly different cults. Like occultists to Aboleth, or not Aboleth, to Abhoth, would say that they are the progenitor, but like cultists to Shub-Niggurath would say that she is the black goat in the woods with 1,000 young, the one that breathes life into everything, as a terrible life. And then like it's sort of like either different belief systems, like different cults believe different things because they're all worshiping different alien gods, or it's almost like a tier system, like because like the Shoggoths are responsible for life on Earth, but maybe Abhoth and Shub-Niggurath, or maybe Abhoth and Shub-Niggurath are basically just two aspects of the same creature or the same entity, are responsible for all organic life in the universe. Sort of, it might be that sort of deal. So like, just it's either like conjecture and debate and division in theology, or it's just a tier system.
Fair enough.
I digress. As the local cultist.
That's good. That's good info. All right. So next up,
I'm just gonna move away from the fact that I completely forgot about this. I didn't scroll down.
what? I owned it.
No, that's fair. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say that.
Anytime I fuck up, I will not hide it. I am more than capable and willing to own my fuck ups.
Yes, we all are technically, because I mean, I keep my fuck ups in this series.
As far as the listeners know.
Hey, full transparency. I only clean up like when we goof up on on reading something, and if you listen to some of our listen past the outro music, you'll sometimes get nuggets of bloopers. So just saying.
Sure. Regardless, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
I'll dispense with the introductions. If you're reading this, you understand the extent of which we've lost our grip on the situation at hand. And my answer to that is, that couldn't be more further from the truth right now. I know nothing. Because this is right at the start. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, because you're supposed to know about what's about the foundation. Because this is basically not an out of context thing, but it's like if you're reading this, you should know about the Foundation's priorities and shit.
Yes.
But yeah, it's sort of I guess a kind of in media res situation, but again in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like reading one of those. It's like reading a document in a video game, like when you've walked through it, like walking through an abandoned horror base, like military base, and you find a bunch of reports and stuff like that.
It's just compared to most other SCPs where they start off explaining what it is. They don't in this. They just kind of start off talking about it as if you clearly already know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you click the link, you have the clearance. Technically, you should know.
Yeah, I shouldn't I?
Yeah.
But I don't. Regardless, moving on.
Yes, I am joking, by the way. I'm not being serious. I'm no, you're wrong.
Yes. Regardless, moving on. This has been kind of brought up earlier, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. Not without difficulty, not without sacrifice, but they have been managed. We have done our job. We are doing great work. We have to be stopped.
Oh God!
Obviously, those last two I edited in, but it's the same sort of feel.
Yeah, what was that what was that entry? What was that SCP?
902? 10?
10! Right, it's 902.
It's the only one we can remember easy because of connected to a stupid freaking sitcom we never watched.
Because of a stupid pop culture reference. That's how we're able to remember that one.
Totally.
Yep.
So, this is still in the intro, I believe, before it gets to the item number and all that stuff.
Yep. And
there's this huge long monologue talking about how the SCP Foundation are being awesome at what they do. And then it says, we have been, in a way, fortunate. And because of our fortune, Joe Average gets to sleep in his bed at night without a care in the world. And then at this point, I'm thinking, is this going to talk about this entity at all? This is 4 paragraphs in at this point.
It's going to get there. It's going to get there.
There's been so much said, and yet nothing said. And as an edit, at 7 paragraphs later, I'm still in the same boat because the whole intro doesn't say anything about it. It's just the SCP Foundation saying shit's fucked up, but we're awesome. We're doing good. We're doing great at work here. That's the summary of the entire intro.
Wait, that was your takeaway from that?
Pretty much.
My takeaway from that was they would say, "All right, guys." Basically, this was sort of a warning from why do I keep saying operator? From Overseer 8. Basically, it's listen, guys. We have dealt with some weird shit and some horrible shit, and we have sacrificed blood, sweat, and tears and souls to maintain humanity. we've had it easy up until now because SCP-3895 is that kind of level of threat that we are so underprepared for, and all the other things that we have fought off and faced have been so goddamn lazy in crushing us compared to this threat that, like, we are not prepared. You are not prepared! Thank you, Illidan from World of Warcraft.
Right?
Sorry. Yeah, no, like that's basically what this whole monologue is at the beginning is like, listen, guys, I know that you think that we're all badass and shit like that. We are nothing compared to what we are about to face, and but by God, we're gonna fight, even if we lose. Like, it's basically a very Delta Greenish sort of like perspective. Is like, we're not gonna win the war, but we might be able to win some battles.
And yeah, I get what you're saying with that. It's just still like this whole intro. I'm reading this wanting to learn what this entity is, and through 7 paragraphs, which is longer than some SCPs in general, I've learned nothing. All I know is it's being praised as this destroyer of the entire world, and that's all I know. It could be a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man for all I know.
And I mean, that would be a global threat if it was the size, if it was 2 kilometers in size. Just die. It'd be worse. It's like the Boston molasses disaster times 100.
Sure.
By the way, the molasses disaster in Boston was an actual historical disaster that killed like a bunch of people when a tankard of molasses exploded and dropped literal tons of molasses through the streets of Boston.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, no, it like look it up. The Great Molasses Disaster is so fucked up. And like it's ridiculous that it actually happened. But I digress. The thing this is actually you bring up a point though that I mentioned earlier actually is that I didn't really know how to take this entry because it's not a conventional SCP entry because it blends a story, an apocalyptic story that is being told to us by Overseer 8 into an actual SCP entry. So yeah, like that's where I was kind of coming from it. So I don't disagree with you about this. Like how I'm 7 paragraphs in, and we still haven't even gotten to the entry. It's like, yeah, because it's kind of being told as a story with an entry slapped into it, or like a kind of like it like the creature itself. It's merging 2 formats together.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of had this, like, when I was reading this, like, do I take this as a story or do I treat it like an SCP entry? So yeah.
Yeah. For me, like, the intro was just kind of a lot of fluff, kind of like it's interesting and all that. But if you're needing to read this to learn about this entity because you're in lore, like assigned to help deal with it or something, you need to look up more information. All this stuff you're reading at the start, you already know.
Yeah, fair. I wonder, as I don't know if you're going to bring this up, but I wonder if this had been like a bar, like just a bar that you can minimize or maximize or like increase, like basically have it like expand out to have this, or like have it minimized at the top so that you get immediately. Like you can see it there above the SCP entry, that you can click it if you want since it is there first. But you right below it, you immediately see the entry itself, so you don't have to necessarily read it. I wonder if maybe that might be better. Again, was that something you were going to bring up, or
I was not going to bring that up.
Okay, do you is that something you think that would be better or not?
No.
No, you don't. Okay, I'm proposing some ideas on like how to like maybe like fix the problem that you seem to be having with it. That's all I'm getting at.
I don't know how you would do it. I guess the drop down menu is probably the best bet. It's for like the drop down menu would be for someone reading this that is not actually in the world to get context of what's happening in the world. So then you know the mindset that you're supposed to be in when reading about the actual entity.
Yeah. Like maybe even have like the link, like the little bar like link, have it be like Overseer 8's disclaimer of SCP-3895.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
Either way,
I'm just trying to like help and like be critical of the story, like of the problem that you're bringing up for the story.
Yes.
Also, I've been staring at that symbol, the SCP symbol, and I just now realized that it kind of looks like the Beast Planet from Shadow Raiders or War Planets in
How?
America, like with the whole like it like basically the 3-pronged claws inside of a giant circle about to like eat a planet.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that.
It could almost be the symbol, like the glyph for the Beast Planet.
Yeah, it's just eating a giant anchor right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually oddly accurate.
Yeah. Even
Anyways.
the anchor itself is like, sorry. Continue.
No, go ahead. You have
No. That I was just gonna reference the anchor being like kind of like the hook that comes out of the Beast Planet to eat planets, but no, it's fine.
Oh, does it actually?
And it has like basically has like a 3-pronged claw that comes out of its mouth when the jaws open up of the Beast Planet that's what picks up planets and pulls it into the planet.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody who out there should check out Shadowrun, or not Shadowrun, should check out Shadow Raiders / War Planets on YouTube. I think the entire series, like 2 seasons, is on YouTube right now for free. Because it's super hard to find a DVD or Blu-ray collection of it. Trust me, I know. I've tried.
At least you got YouTube.
Yep.
Anyways, moving on.
Yes. Sorry.
Realsies this time.
Yep.
We have found ourselves unprepared for something that fails to display the characteristic politeness of our other known it is antagonists. Something with initiative. 3 whole passes of initiative.
God damn it.
To put in a Shadowrun reference in there.
To continue the Shadowrun references, yeah.
So fast.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like, hey, man. At least it's not like a dragon that has like 4 or 5 or more.
Do they really?
Yeah, because they have they're basically demigods.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah,
That's
they
legit.
got like their magic rating in Shadowrun. This is complete. This is not Shadowrun.
It's fine.
Stop it. Slap. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, I'll move on. Larger SCP.
Actually, sorry, before you continue. If you'd like to learn more about Shadowrun and our playthroughs of it, check out our sister podcast, One Less Die, a Shadowrun and gaming actual play podcast. All right, my plug's over. You can move on.
What a smooth plug.
Yes.
Right in there.
Just like chunky peanut butter.
Yeah, totally. Larger SCP-3895 entities, which are roughly 6 meters in height, will lead groups of smaller SCP-3895 entities and may assimilate them to repair infected traumas. Larger 3895 entities, around 6 meters in height again, will lead groups... Wait, did I copy and paste it twice?
Oh,
I
no.
did. Why did I copy and paste that twice? Either way, okay, regardless. The first thing I said...
Yes.
There's large entities, and they lead groups of smaller entities, and they may assimilate the smaller ones to repair the bigger ones. Cool.
Yes.
That's the point I'm talking about.
Okay.
Up
Cool.
until this point, I was figuring that this was just one thing that's just been eating people and getting bigger the whole time, and now all of a sudden I have to change my thought processes to be like, oh, okay, it's a zombie apocalypse. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the Flood. Like the Flood has the grave mind, like the giant, big, bulky mass, and then it sends out drones or it's infested. Or similar to like the Necromorphs, they have the Convergence event, which is basically a giant like pillar of biomass that all the smaller units basically gather to converge into one big biomass.
Mm-hmm.
So
I understand what it is. It's just up until that point, I thought the whole thing was just there's one thing that's fucking everyone over.
Gotcha.
It hasn't been talked because every time it talks about plural, it kind of sounds like it's talking about plural as in like it's made of multiple different things, not saying that there's multiple separate entities that do their own thing. Until this point, that's way further in.
That sounded like you just said the same thing twice. I'm sorry.
I mean, okay, for most of it, it sounded like this one thing takes in a whole bunch of different creatures into itself. So it is made of many things.
Mm-hmm.
So it, as many things, goes around and does things. However, what it actually is it absorbs things and then it splits itself into multiple creatures that also absorb things and split and such like that.
Yes.
I thought it was always one entity of a whole bunch of different
You
entity made of a bunch of things.
Okay. So you thought it was like a rolling ball of meat that just
Yes.
that just like gathers things as it goes, but it's actually like there's a central node that where it's like mostly comprised where its bulk is, but it can basically like deposit repurposed parts of itself to be smaller units that it can deploy.
Yes.
Gotcha. Sorry, it's just
like
the way the wording
is.
I guess,
And then it drops that.
yeah, I guess. Sorry, just the way the wording is. I guess it is like this is why we're having this conversation here. Is that it's not entirely presented properly or presented well or clear enough.
Yeah, even me trying to explain it, you thought I said the same thing twice.
Yeah,
and I may have, maybe just in my confusion, I was repeating the same thing, but I didn't think I was.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
So we reached the end of the description of in the actual SCP-like section, and so at this point I'm like, okay, I've read the whole description, and so far it's a viral monster who will absorb matter, make copies of itself until the world is nothing but itself. Cool.
Yes.
But where is the cognito-hazardous potential of this creature? Why did I have to go through Infonoculation 27 Apollo treatment to read this?
I think that is the part that you missed on your first read through, which is the bottom section where like embrace the mother, or like her mother knows best sort of thing. I think that's what the cognito hazard of this entry is. So congrats, you managed to get away from it the first time round.
Yeah, but I still don't get it.
It's because it's a memetic like the bottom section is weird and cryptic, so that therefore that my guess is that's the memetic virus, is like by looking at the changing words and or letters and numbers, and then looking at the message like at the bottom, like I can love you through your own corpses and stuff like that. That part itself, I think that is supposed to be what they were referencing as the cognito hazard.
So everything, are you saying basically everything that's in this story up until that point is just false? Like nothing actually happens, and it's just to waste. Sorry, I'm saying it bad, as in waste your time.
Yeah.
But the entity created this this whole thing to cause you to continually read this, because the longer you're exposed to reading about it, the more it takes hold of you, until a point where it's okay. It has control of you now, so now you're gonna go to mother.
That actually is exactly what I was saying earlier about how, like, is this, like, why are we reading this story of an apocalyptic event? Like, Guam exists, as far as I know, publicly. It has not been turned into a biomass. So, like, why is this, like, sort of like SCP canon fiction an entry, unless... Yeah, this whole story has basically been leading up for the memetic virus that is at the bottom of the entry, which is, and that's the SCP entry. Like, it's like you said, everything that we've been reading is to pull you all the way down to the bottom where the cognito hazard is, which is the SCP entry itself. The entry itself is the entity.
So there's no giant flesh ball that's eating people.
Or maybe it hasn't happened yet, and this is how it's trying to, like, influence the SCP Foundation from within. Again, another angle of the SCP Foundation is already contaminated or compromised. Like, we've seen it before in reading through the Joey Fucknut stories. We've already discovered an SCP that apparently has already contaminated or, like, infiltrated and then, like, disappeared itself because it basically posed itself as false by the end of the entry.
Yeah.
And same thing with, like, like you referenced it earlier, the 90210. Where, like, it's this box in the that's clearly affecting the Foundation members that are in the base and possibly on a larger scale. So Yeah, no. Basically, what we just read, we've been infected with an with an SCP entity.
Hooray!
Yay! Hopefully, now all the entities that have infected us already fight.
Yeah, exactly. Fight for control over our body.
Exactly. Now I just want to run an Everyone is John game, which Everyone is John is an RPG, like a rules light RPG, where you all play voices in the head of a character named John, and vie for control of the body and his actions.
That's weird.
I kind of want to run that, but modified slightly, just to have it be like we're all SCP entities that are trying to influence this overseer in the SCP Foundation.
Jeez.
Try and basically and whoever gains control at the very end, basically that's the apocalypse that happens because it happened from within the SCP Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I kind of like that idea. Sorry, scribbling down some notes.
Great.
But yeah, to answer your question, yes. That's at least one of my theories about this entry and why we're reading it and why what it's trying to propose here is it's not just simply a story within an entry about an apocalypse level event. It is in itself an entity that is trying to infect you, and I suddenly just had the Inception theme just blare into my head.
Seems fair. Anyways, my last note.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't confuse you there, did I? Or are you just huh?
No.
Wow.
So,
Okay, sorry,
in regards to them dealing with 3895, or actually not dealing with it, why is it they can't deal with it? Because I've read this whole story, and I know that and all I know is everything they throw at it gets absorbed, including people. But how? Why I'm assuming gunfire and fire and explosives are useless.
Yeah,
does it have long range tentacles to absorb people? How are they getting close enough to just keep grabbing soldiers that have guns with range?
You brought it up earlier. It dispenses smaller units that can go out from the main mass. So that's that's how it spreads from the main mass, is that it sends out smaller mobile units. Now I just picture the fucking
Gundams.
Yeah. Now I just picture Gundams, Flesh Gundams.
Yeah.
You're
called Gum-Dums. They're made of of your gums, basically, and teeth.
No, it's
Now I know what you have to draw.
They're just made of teeth. The armor on the Gundam is just teeth.
Yeah, but it's held together with gummy material.
God, it's just Shoggoth. It's just a Shoggoth Gundam, a Gundam.
No, it's a Gundam. We already talked about this.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, that's my thing. Is it's sending out units. That's how it's moving. And I guess my guess is that they can't destroy it easily with conventional weapons like missiles and bullets and stuff like that, or it's not having as much of an effect as it should have. Hence why they're having to employ a prototypical thermonuclear weapon against it to possibly stop it. Because
and yeah, I get it. They turn into smaller ones, but are the smaller ones fast, or are they all shamblers?
That is actually a good. That is a
do they absorb people just on touch, or do they have long range tentacle attacks? I know nothing.
That is actually a good point. I feel like the description should have a little bit more descriptor on the smaller units, simply than just they deploy and smaller units that then because I mean you can assume that they assimilate the Thing or the Flood or whatever when they come into contact when they are engaged with soldiers. But we don't know anything about their speed, or their capabilities as smaller units.
Yeah, and they talk about the bombing and the magical nuke bombing in regards to the Prime version. But were they able to shoot the smaller ones normally?
Yeah, do they need? I'm trying to remember what the anti-bug spirit weapons are in Shadowrun. Because there's actually bullets basically insecticide like bullets. That they use on insect spirits when they flesh form. that are actually effective against bug spirits. I can't remember what they're called though.
It doesn't matter.
Future me. Okay, well this isn't really important to the discussion at hand, but in Shadowrun Returns, Project Aegis created a weapon in the form of a fluorescing astral bacteria that can kill the insect's astral manifestations, and it was employed in rounds of an assault rifle there. But yeah, that again, you bring up a good point. That should be added to the story or to the description.
Yeah, I think so. But that is the end of my notes.
Okay. I was a little worried when me and Mikey both were done within like a short amount of time, and then our conversation here has proven yet again that we can talk for hours.
Of course, always.
Yeah. So yeah, on to final thoughts. I enjoyed the read. Though I am a bit confused as to the state of this entry, like I said earlier, and to its chronology, like how does it fit? Is it a canon of an SCP story, or is it the SCP entry, the entity itself as well? You just brought up some good points about like how a gamer that there should be some information that we're not getting to like kind of help build up the threat level, like not just the big biomass, like oh it's a big scary biomass that we can't seem to really defeat. What about all those smaller things that you said like it dispenses? Like why are those such a threat? Like outside of like they infect people when they come into contact. Well, like how are they getting so close to our troops if that's the case? So it's definitely could use some extra like works and fixins on it. But ultimately, I mean, I personally will recommend it because it's an interesting read, and as this conversation has had, or as this conversation has gone, it's going to make you think, which I think is always a good thing for a horror story like that's telling this kind of themes and stories. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
Well, we're doing good work here.
Yes, really. One of us.
So yeah, I personally liked the letter at the beginning from the Overseer 8. Just sort of saying that we're doomed, and then actually going into the entry and explaining why we're doomed later. So I'm gonna give this a recommendation, especially if you've been reading all the other stories that mention the mother, because this is pretty much gives us the mother finally.
Yeah, it's kind of like a culmination of what we've been hearing about the mother, and now we're actually seeing kind of like her threat level potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I did like how you were like you had to strain there for a second to like I recommend it. I had to comment on that because it sounded very strained.
Very forced.
Yeah. Gamer, you're up.
For me, I can't really recommend this one, honestly. Like, maybe it's because I didn't get it, but like I didn't get it, you know?
That's fair. I get, yeah.
Like when I was reading it, I saw it was one creature that was absorbing others into itself. It turned out to be multiple doing that. I ask if our military's weapons work against it. I have to learn, I have to lean on assumptions basically to answer that question. I want to know how it's taking these soldiers, if it's through long-range grabs or physical contact or some other magical means. But I get to see none of that. They know the creature gets bigger and smarter the more people absorbs. But they throw, like, I think 3,400 soldiers at it from that Sigma team.
Yeah.
All, like, apparently trained soldiers that are just making it smarter. Is this taking place in Derpland?
I mean, look again. Like, look at the soldiers and stuff that were fighting the Flood in Halo. Like, they got fucking punked. And like, are those guys Derplanders? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Controversial statement there.
Hot take from Gamer in Yellow. The UNSC was a bunch of punks.
Damn right. No, I was gonna say I love Halo. I don't anymore. Regardless, I'm just tired of it. I don't want to talk about it right now. We're talking about this.
Yeah. Let's talk. Yeah,
Force
sorry.
me later.
Leave
It's
your
said
hate
that
mail
they
to forward your
yeah.
hate mail to Gabriel Yellow.
It's said that they can't contain this, but like, why? It's a flesh blob. Like, how is it defeating um all of their containment procedures? Like, I want to know how
Oh,
it's getting past everything.
well, they specify they can't contain it in a room. I mean, it has an island, so it's kind of contained.
Yeah, I mean, Guam's a pretty big island. I don't know if you know this. Also,
Well, I
yeah,
meant
like
the
yeah,
initial attempts at containment. They say that nothing works, and then later on it talks about how it's getting bigger and bigger. I meant the initial containment, nothing worked, but like, we didn't see any of it. I don't understand what they tried, why it isn't working. It doesn't work. Trust me. You know.
well, yeah, I get you. Like, I mean, I got from it that was that the information, like the reason why their containment angle for this is like trying to cover it up, trying to keep people away from it. The problem is though, it just took out Guam, which like and apparently like it's spreading like it's able to spread, which again we don't really get a specifics on how it's spreading across the globe or like how it's a global threat in terms of its spread. Like, are its smaller parts going out to sea to like or like trying to make landfall like to other islands or like mainland continents and stuff like that? Like, I can get that some of the containment breaches are because of like they're trying to basically cover it up in the media and like basically info like a sort of misinformation tactic that the foundation uses to in like on the internet and like through communications and stuff. It's like, no, Guam's fine here, everything's fine. How are you? Like sort of situation, but yeah.
You have to remember that the mother has that floating mass that it can send out.
Oh, fuck. So like, but that also points to like, are these actually again to kind of go onto gamer side here? Does that mean that those 6-meter sized like units that are dispensing smaller units, are they floating above? Are they basically giant floating masses of flesh that just like drop down like enemy units? Is this an RTS?
Or is the giant floating blob like the troop transport and it drops out the smaller ones?
Yeah, because like that's kind of how I was envisioning it. But again, you brought up a very a worthy point here, gamer, where like we don't get a lot of description on the units themselves outside of their physical description, kind of, with like they are made of like primarily necrotized human matter that also has animalistic or animal matter and stuff that has been pulled in. So like but like we don't actually see we don't even get a description of their actions and how they operate and whatnot. So and you think that for an entry and a story that is describing a tactical apocalyptic event, that we would get some tactical information about the smaller units. See, this was again one of the reasons I was kind of conflicted with the story, because it's like it sort of is falling into some like because it's telling this as a like kind of a mix between a traditional narrative and an SCP entry bureaucratic format. It's kind of it's kind of having some of the faults that we would not usually give an SCP entry, because it isn't giving us enough information that we usually get provided. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, while I still recommend the story, I can see why you don't recommend this. Like, it's not your opinion isn't false or isn't like misinformed. In fact, it's because it's misinformed is a reason enough to not recommend it. Yeah.
And like, you guys said that this is good to see finally what the mother is finally all about and what happens in regards to the mother, which is funny because you can't see anything technically because of how little description there is in pretty much everything in this. There's like too many questions to ask about this seemingly undescribable entity that they can't describe for reasons.
Yeah.
It's like looking at a blank piece of paper that has an arrow pointing at it that says World Ender. And then that's the story, kind of. Because you have to draw in your own thoughts of what everything is. All we know is It's a thing
Oh.
that absorbs other things, and that's going to absorb everything through reasons.
Well-
that's the summary of it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you need to sort of think about all the things that the mother can do through its other entities. Like, it can absorb corpses from the ground that are so many miles away. At least one of its other entities can.
Yeah, the floating one.
Yeah, so
Flesh blimp.
so basically, it assuming that it can bring any matter into itself from a distance. It doesn't need physical touch.
Yeah. And there definitely is some kind of metaphysical presence there that just hasn't manifested yet because it's basically building its body in the real world out of all the biomatter. I'm actually tempted right now to not downgrade but like update my recommendation to at the very least a high recommendation, a highly partial recommendation, but like with the preset, like you should read some of the previous SCP entries that have the mother in it to kind of before like to get more of the context of what's going on.
But I read them.
I know, no, and I'm not. And again, like this is also,
and I'm still confused as hell.
I understand, and I mean, again, like that's also like, again, we always have like we have varying opinions on and perspectives when we read stories. So, like me and Mikey both have this see this story from one point of view, but you see it from another. So you're again like this is why we do like 3 recommendations, and don't just say like overall or like we are all unanimous. We agree that like either yes or nay. So like if people think like you, perhaps they would not like this story. However, if they think like us, maybe they will. Like that sort of thing.
And it's kind of funny, Mikey, that you brought up the flesh blimp thing, because basically it does the exact same thing this does, except it is in a story that is very clearly like it's described. You know what it is. You know what it does. There's not many questions with it, and I'm pretty sure we all at least sort of like that one. This thing does the exact same thing, just at a bigger scale with no descriptors. So I think it's kind of unnecessary. Because if you want to have a flesh blob that grabs other things and pulls them in, that story's already there. And it's written by the same person, isn't it?
SCP-3895 is by CadaverCommander, I think. Hang on. It has cadaver in the tags. Yeah, it's CadaverCommander.
And this one is as well?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, like it's the same thing just on a bigger scale. Like this SCP could just be that other SCP just evolved into this one. Like, oh no, SCP-389 whatever the fuck is evolving into the 95.
Yeah, 3897.
Would you like to rename your SCP-395?
Yeah.
Or
like maybe this is just like another like again, yeah, like maybe because it's changed into this like more stationary mass, or maybe this is like again SCP-3897, the giant floating mass. Like we should maybe when it references the descriptor of like what the smaller units that it dispenses are, like the 6-meter units or whatever, maybe that part in there should have a link to SCP-3897, which is the giant floating mass, to kind of properly give you context as to what exactly is being dispensed by the main mass.
But that's not what it's dispensing, because that thing is way bigger than 6 meters.
Okay, no, yeah, but like a smaller version maybe of. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It is
the whole thing's a question mark to me. That's the reason for my recommendation, because I don't know if it's flying. I don't know if it's on the ground. I don't know if it's humanoid. I don't know if it's a blob. I know there's multiple. Finally, I don't know how they grab. I just know nothing. And I think the long and short of this recommendation, I didn't recommend it because I haven't had multiple days worth of the infection in me from reading the story, because I didn't read down that far and you guys did, which tainted your thoughts on the story. That's what
I suppose it did. Yes. Fair. All right. So what I'm hearing is roughly 2 recommendations towards the story and 1 against. Read at your Read at your own risk.
Yeah, legit.
At your own cognito hazard risk, or cognito hazardous risk.
I'm sure in a couple of days I'll love this story and there'll be no problems.
Well,
However,
we'll find out next week when I'll ask that question next week. It's like, so how do you think about 3895? I love it. I wish to return to the mother. I think we all should return to the mother. Mother knows best. All right. Well, that was this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below. This gets posted. Facebook, YouTube, Podbean, or Tumblr. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, SCP stories, cryptids, hate mail towards Gamer for hating Halo.
I'm just tired of it.
Honestly, I'm with you. Like the last Halo game, I was not impressed with. Here's hoping for Halo Infinity, maybe. Or Halo Infinite? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, it's Infinite. You do get the Doomslayer's, grappling hook thing, so that'll be cool.
So they're just ripping off Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, to be fair, Master Chief is really just a plagiarized version of the Doomslayer, like from
yeah,
the
he's
Doom
basically the bitch version of the Doomslayer.
Yeah, he's a giant super soldier space marine. I wonder where that's from.
Mm-hmm.
Looks at
1993,
every.
I think.
Well, not just. I also just like look at all of the other, like, 'cause Doom guy aside, there's Space Marines from Starship Troopers, Warhammer 40K, StarCraft, the 2000 AD comics and Judge Dredd.
By the way, I was right. 1993 is when Doom came out.
Nice, yeah. But yeah,
I know my Doom.
yeah. Bring us your hate mail towards us for not liking Halo 5. And wait, is it Halo 5 or is it Halo 6?
I don't even remember. They're all the same.
Which one was Guardian? Oh shit. Anyways, yes, if you'd like to send us emails, send them at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. If you'd like to help support the show, if you haven't just just left, like rage quit from that, and you'd like to support our show, you can go to Patreon and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you guys so much. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that.
And to the none of your Patreon money goes towards me. It is strictly for the show specifically.
Yeah, if you suddenly have lost your love for Gamer in Yellow, don't worry.
I see none of it.
It all goes back into the show. To our listeners and the creator of the story, CadaverCommander, at least two of us salute you.
I'll salute the rest of your stories. I'm pretty sure I've loved all of them except this one.
No, I mean, again, like, if you write enough stories, you're going to have a couple of like hit or misses for certain people. So it happens. But yes, thank you. Because if you weren't listening to our show, it would be like speaking into the void. And if you weren't writing these stories or these entries, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So we wouldn't be here for like over an hour bickering about the outcome of, or about whether or not we like or hate this an entry. So
no, we'll be standing on a soapbox blasting freaking Halo.
Anti-Halo, yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately, yeah, thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. # Gamer Hates Halo. Sleep well.
I think I'm going to buy a PlayStation now.
Oh!
God, that hurt to say. Ah, they do have EDF
Yeah.
though. They have EDF.
They also have Horizon Zero Dawn, which has like honestly was one of those games that was really like pushing me to like it's like do I like it was pushing me in that direction of like do I get a PS5 or a PS4 over an Xbox One or an Xbox 3 Series X? Like there's a couple of games on the PlayStation that I wish I could play, and instead I have to watch less players play them. So
the way I
Anyway.
see most PlayStation games is like they're rentals. You beat it once and it's done.
I mean that's most of the games I have for Xbox though too. Like
Yeah, I mean,
like they're the only ones that are kind of not a one and done for me with Xbox is are actually strangely enough like Killing Floor and Warframe.
yeah.
So but like yeah, like I immediately like drop it, like I immediately uninstall a game once I finished like the campaign stuff, like because the story I've told the story, like yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna kick Alistair out.
Yeah, okay, that's enough content for after the
Yeah.
outro.